Hello and welcome to the Queen Slayer. It's your girl, the Mad Queen. I want to talk about a new hero, Hitoshi. I want to talk about him in comparison to one of the most well-known and best used heroes in the game, which happens to be Nathalia. Everyone knows, and you can see that my game profile picture is of Nathalia. I love her. I used her in the beginning game, the mid game, I use her in the end game. She is just an incredible hero that has a lot of versatility, and she can be used in virtually every content within the game, which makes her an incredible hero. So, for someone to be able to compare to Nathalia, they would have to be able to do those things like Nathalia, be able to be used in a lot of different places and do a ton of damage. I think that Hitoshi is going to give Nathalia a run for her money and actually be a second option for people, especially like newer players and people that are just starting the game. It's going to be a second option for a hero that is going to be like Nathalia and be able to do a ton of damage. But I think, and I could be wrong, he's going to do it, if not just as good as Nathalia, but better. And he is also, compared to Nathalia, much easier to build. The reason for this is because his trait is like Zatlux's, and he's able to give himself 30% crit rate. He also works on rage, which makes him do more damage based on how many stacks of rage he has, and he's able to reset his cooldown. He's also able to do damage based on the enemy's max health, and his ultimate is an AoE ability that also heals him, so he is going to have more survivability than Nathalia. If you've been playing the game for a while, then you know with Nathalia, if you don't have enough damage to totally wipe everyone out for the most part on her first turn before the enemies go, there is a very slim chance of her coming back from that. There are a lot of situations where things happen and she might get a counterattack or anything can happen and then she's just out. So, Hitoshi is going to be able to heal himself and keep himself alive longer. Because of his AoE ability that heals, and the fact that he's able to reset that cooldown and do it over again and use his ultimate more than once. I wish that I could 100% make a comparison for the two of them. I can't do that, unfortunately. My head is blocking them right now. The reason for that is because my Nathalia is fully booked and fully ascended. And of course, Hitoshi is not ascended because he is a brand new hero and I don't have any books into him. So there is going to be quite a difference in that. I am going to show you what he can do in the adventure stages and in the arena as well. I have played around with him a bit and he is a lot of fun. He also doesn't need another hero to be able to buff him, for him to do more damage and to actually complete a full AoE attack. So with Nathalia, as her buffs start to run out and she gets lower and lower, and you'll see this a lot in the Void Tower if you use her there, she's going to start attacking less heroes because there are waves where there will be 5 or 6 enemies that you have to beat. And she's going to start getting to the point where she can't attack all of them at once because she's running out of buffs. With Hitoshi, he gives himself, once he's ascended, he gives himself attack up, and his AoE is always going to be an AoE ability, whereas Nathalia is not technically coded for AoE damage. She's a single target damage dealing unit, but because of the buffs, it allows her to target extra heroes and do a little extra damage. And as we all know, Nathalia is totally busted. Thank God that they haven't changed that. But Hitoshi is, I think when he's fully ascended and fully booked, just like Nathalia, you're going to see a lot of people using him over Nathalia. And I could actually see where people would stop using heroes like Winstrix and Halea. You'd only be able to do this if you were fully booked, though, and you had really good in-game gear. Honestly, you'd be able to do this in the Void Tower, more so in the Void Tower, in Adventure Stages, Endless Trials, where they have speed that's not totally out of reach, because it's hard to put speed boots on heroes if they're not fully booked and fully ascended, because they need all those extra stats. So I think eventually we'll be able to see teams that maybe don't have a support at all, and you can run a lot of heroes that are able to give themselves attack up. There are a lot of heroes that have been coming out that have that ability to boost themselves to do more damage, where they don't need to rely on another hero. And with Nathalia, of course, you can build the guard set in, but when you're doing that, to give yourself an extra buff, you're taking away from other stats potentially as well, because that guard set could be a warrior set. We're not going to be able to totally and completely compare the damage output. It wouldn't be fair, because my Nathalia's base stats are just way higher than what Hitoshi's are because of all the extra stuff she has put into her. But I am going to use the exact same set, and I'm just going to use the same gear altogether on both heroes. I have a warrior set and an assassin set on him, and the boots are speed. This is Nathalia's gear, and I'm able to get away with that and still have a lot of damage. His stats with this gear on: 3,800 attack, 169 speed. He has 85% crit rate with this gear, which he doesn't need that. You only need to build 70% into him. And honestly, that is a huge bonus in my opinion. It's not as hard to build him. And it's especially in the early game, early and mid game, it can be really tough to get your crit rate along with your crit damage and speed and all the other stats that you need. You can see he has 85% crit rate, 274% crit damage. And when we go to Nathalia in her info, she has 5,300 attack, 196 speed, 106 crit rate, and 317% crit damage. I am going to take Hitoshi into the arena and adventure stages just to kind of show you a bit of what he does and why I think he is going to give Nathalia a serious run for her money. But first, let me go ahead and put Hitoshi's gear back, or put Nathalia's gear back on Hitoshi. Hitoshi feels like one of the first heroes in a really long time that the developers have made and released into the game to actually benefit newer beginner players. I think he's going to be incredible in the end game as well. We need more heroes that are easier to build that can help us progress for early game players. So I think that Hitoshi is bringing a very, very competitive kit. So let's go into the arena here. If you're wondering why I'm in silver, it's because I don't really do arena like I should. And typically I just do training to get my dailies every day. I don't want it to be like a super like low team, because that's not really going to showcase very well. I mean, I know these guys aren't super high, but if I got Nathalia down to these same stats, I think that she would do just about the same. I highly doubt we're going to beat this team, but let's go for it. Oh, hold on. I have to go buy more arena tickets. Okay, I got some more. So let's try him out on this. But what's really nice is, yeah, look, he just healed himself for, what was that, like 14,000 health? And that's 30% of the damage. I want to take a look at the battle report and see. Yeah, so he did 51,000 damage. That's a lot, especially for the gear he does have on. That's honestly pretty impressive. Let's try out a couple more teams and see what we may be able to do. I wonder how he pairs up against Lightwing Zachary. I try to back up a bit so that I'm not like totally covering everybody. Okay. He could be a very good answer to actually a few things now that I'm really thinking about it. He could help in those longer teams where they're really, really tanky because he's going to be able to take lightning strikes and heal himself from that. So he's going to be able to live a lot longer than most other DPS units or damage dealing units. And it looks like he may also be able to handle Lightwing Zachary really well. And that's a huge task. Let's just try out a couple more and then I'll take you into the adventure stages so that you can see how quickly he can clear through there. And of course, with better base stats, I think he's going to be insane. Totally insane. This would be a tough team, but let's go for it. Yeah, I mean, even seriously, I'm amazed. Even with stats that are really just okay, he's still doing pretty well. And he has the opportunity to do his ultimate ability every single turn as long as he killed somebody in his last turn because it resets. But I'm going to head over into the arena. Not in the arena, we just left the arena. Into the adventure stages. Okay, I'm back, and I actually made sure to unmute this time. So it actually took Hitoshi and Nathalia the same amount of time to complete 10 runs in the adventure stages. But you also want to keep in mind Hitoshi's stats were much lower. And I think that this actually is going to have something to do with skill animations. His are much quicker than hers. So that is going to speed up his farming abilities a bit. But imagine if he actually had the stats that Nathalia did, it would be faster, period. There, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It would be faster. And I wouldn't have to use a Winstrix in the team. And I would be able to have him only go first as my main farmer. Obviously, you would put other random people on the team, but if he had the same stats as Nathalia, with the speed and everything, I wouldn't need to use Winstrix or Halea to give any kind of speed boost at the beginning. I would have him go at the very beginning without any other support heroes because he gives himself attack up, he can heal himself, and he resets his ultimate ability, which is AoE. So I think that for farming, especially in adventure stages, he is going to be a much better option than Nathalia. And that's going to be for the sake of time, so that it's much faster. And of course, if you're able to do these fast, you're able to do more of them. So let me go back to the tavern. But that's really impressive that he has way less stats than Nathalia and was able to clear through with the same amount of time. This video is already super long, and I apologize for that, but I do actually want to do one more thing. I want to take him into Endless Trials. Let me switch and put Nathalia's gear back on him, because I want to see how well he can perform on stage 70. And oh my. In the Endless Trials, my bad. I'm not going to do all of Endless Trials. I'm just going to do a few stages in here. Should probably put it on double speed. That would help. And I wonder, now that I'm thinking about it, was I farming adventure stages in double time? I'm gonna have to check on that, because that obviously makes a difference in how long it takes to farm. Ooh, look, and in here you can give him, you could probably get so much lifesteal on him that he would probably never die. And honestly, I was kind of throwing some shade at having to put, and you don't have to, but using the guard set for Nathalia, which I 100% do, so I'm not trying to like totally shame, okay? But I think that if you were to put a guard set on him with the warrior set, you could use that as an option to keep him alive longer, and then he could just keep healing himself. And he did die, which is okay, but I think that that would be a really good option for him. I don't think that would necessarily work in PvP, but I think it would work in PvE content. I also want to mention quickly that I am working on Hitoshi in dungeon content, but it's going to take a little bit of time before he can really go far into dungeon content until I can get the stats on him like my Nathalia has. I think when it comes to farming stuff, when you have them both fully maxed out, you're going to be choosing Hitoshi to farm over Nathalia solely because he's going to be able to do it faster. He just doesn't take as long to do his abilities as she does. Let me know in the comments what you think, your opinions on what you saw. I know, I'm sorry, it wasn't the best. I think it's still a really good, solid showcase on his potential. I'm calling it. I think that he is Nathalia's equal, or maybe, honestly, I'm just gonna say, I think he is better than Nathalia. Not right now, but whenever he is totally maxed like her, I think he's going to be better. I said it. Let me know what you think. I'm excited to hear different opinions and prospects in the comments section. Before we wrap this up completely, if you're a new player looking for advice or an experienced player willing to give advice, join my growing Discord community. I'll leave the link in the description below. Thanks for watching. Once again, it's the Mad Queen, and I'll catch you in the next video.